The Taumoeba is loose again. The Taumoeba is loose again. Ooh, what's this mean? What's this mean? Worst case scenario, he goes back to Rocky. Is he going to go back to Rocky? Or is he going to go home? If the Taumoeba are loose on the ship, then... Hello and welcome back to the couch. We saved you a seat. My name is Luke, and today we're checking out Chapter 26 of Project Hail Mary. If you've been here a while, you know what the deal is. We do a chapter-by-chapter review of the book here. It's been a great time. If you'd like to follow along, there is a link to Amazon in the description of this video. You can go buy the book and follow along with us. I think you'd have a great time. Regardless, we're going to jump right in. So here's the deal. We start back in the past. And I didn't think we were going to go back to the past. I thought we were finished. But apparently we needed one more. And I'll be frank with you, this wasn't my favorite scene. I kind of liked where we left Strat and their relationship. But regardless, we get one more scene. So it's the day of the launch. Ryland's in a cell. He's wondering, why is there a cell at the Russian astronaut space pad thing? I digress. It's a good question. I was wondering the same thing. And Strat walks in. And Strat begins to have this dialogue. First, she confirms, "Hey, we're gonna have the launch. They're gonna come get you in a minute. But I wanted to talk to you about something." And Ryland's not really having any of it. He's still ticked off. Understandable. Then she goes into her history. She goes into her thought process. She goes into the fact that she has a degree in history. She talks about how every single conflict, all of human evolution, everything that's happened up until the Industrial Revolution is based on food. If you go and watch all of those podcasts, this is separate from the book, but if you go and watch all those podcasts where they talk to fake scientists and real scientists about archaeology, the number one thing they talk about is the migration of people and the fossilized seeds and grain and other items that they find on the ground. That's how they track where humans were thousands of years ago. So this has everything to do with that, right? I mean, she even talks about how the Romans, the best thing they created was a way to transport food from one place to another at a pretty swift rate. She talks about how if we run out of food, there will be war and famine. And that the climatologists that they had, all of his models assumed that all of the countries would work in conjunction with some of the terrible things that were bound to happen. Right? But she's like, no, there's gonna be war. During the rebellion, the Taiping rebellion in China, 20 some odd million, what'd she say? No, she said some odd hundreds of thousands of people, soldiers died, but 20 million people died as a result of the famine from the rebellion. 20 million. That's so many people. Like, that's, I don't know, all I know is the more recent, that's 7 times as many people that live in Manhattan currently. That's a huge amount of people. And so she's trying to relate with him. Hey, this was not an easy decision. This was not a decision made haphazardly. It needed to happen now. You're the perfect person for the job. And Ryland was having none of it. He dismisses her. He says, whatever helps you sleep at night. And Strat's like, look, I feel like I owe you this explanation. I think he knew the explanation. I think he knows. She was put in that position for a reason, and he's seen all the evidence. She didn't need to come back. But maybe she cares about him just a little bit more than we think. Regardless, that's headcanon. Maybe not. And then Ryland says, go to hell. And Strat rebuffs with, buddy, you're going on a ship. We're going to hell. Well, hell's coming for us. And then leaves. I don't think we're going to get another flashback. This is probably the last one. I don't think we're going to watch them drug him and him have issues or whatever. There's no more conflict. interpersonal and interpersonal conflict anymore in the past. The next thing we'll see is the chapter 1, he's waking up. Anyway, so at least that's my prediction. I could be wrong. So now we'll go back to the present. Ryland says, "Hell's coming from you in the form of me." I didn't figure out what to say yet, though, but I'm sure I'll figure out something. 4 years of being awake on a ship. Maybe some coma, maybe not. Nah, dog. You're going to be over it. You're going to be over it like the water over a dam after a flood. You're going to be over it, dude. Because you lived, and you're a hero, and you're courageous, and you proved her right, and you proved yourself right. I love that line that he's like, okay. We know you just relived this amazingly traumatic event, but come on, dude. 4 years? 4 years, time heals wounds. Plus, they've had 26 years. You'll have 4. She's going to be not young anymore. If she's still alive. You'll still be in your late 30s. Or however old he is. Anyway. At this point, he's had this flashback. It's 18 days into his journey. He's bored. He's cleaned and cataloged the lab. He's speculated on whether he's going to write papers about the Taumoeba and the astrophage. He's speculated about writing a paper on Rocky and what he's learned about his people. He mentioned that he has every program that's ever been made and all these video games he could play. Hell, I mean, if you played through Final Fantasies 1 through 15, that's at least a couple months of playtime. You're just listening to music and eating slurry and just chilling. And he checks on the farms. Of course, they're doing fine. He also mentions that he's the one who's gonna drop off the Taumoeba at Venus. Why not? He already knows how to do it. I don't know how he's gonna do it. He's gonna just toss it into the gas and let it burn up in the atmosphere. I don't know. He claims he's gonna be the one to do it. Maybe from an EVA. I don't know. I don't think he thought that one through. But then he speculates about his friendships back home and that he doesn't really have any, and that his only other friend is Rocky, which I get. You know, I live in a city where my best friends don't live near me. And I hardly ever talk to them, and I hardly ever see them. I miss them dearly. Shout out to y'all too. But it's a thing. I understand where he's coming from. And this person, this thing, he built this connection where he misses so much. And as a ritual, he'll, turn off the thrusters, spin down the drives, and he'll turn off his petroscope and watch Rocky continue to float away, because the instruments are so specific and precise that he can do it. He can see the afterburner and see it going across space. I think that's pretty cool. And it makes him sad to think that he won't be able to communicate with him ever again. And it makes him even more sad that at some point, because of a redshift, which I had to Google, because of redshift, it won't work anymore. It will no longer register on the Petrova light anymore. And he thinks, okay, this is kind of pathetic, and he starts his engines up. Sometime later, Ryland checks on his dwindling food. It's been 32 days, and at 51 days, he'll be completely reliant on the coma slurry. He tries some of the coma slurry. It's a powder mix. He pours it into water. He takes a quick sip of it, and he says it tastes like aspirin, and that he almost gagged it up. Personally, I think he's being kind of a wimp here. With the situation he's in, I get it. You could do with some ketchup, you know what I mean, or something. I'm not ketchup for this, but you know what I mean. You could do with some flavor. Heck, I get cravings for chocolate constantly. I got craving for ice cream right now. Rest in peace and having no ice cream in my house. But the fate of the world. You can drink aspirin juice. You'll be all right. Ryland figures he'll just let that day come when it comes. He's not going to start, doing the coma slurry just yet. And so he starts to work on the beetles, right? Because the beetles are maybe the most important part. It's the most important task that he has for the rest of the journey. And at this point, he's already filled 2 of the beetles. And so he tells us a little bit about what the farms look like that are attached, and that there's a counterweight, and that they weigh 1 kilogram more, and he's got to fill up some of the fuel because he's used some of the fuel for 3 of them to use his thrusters earlier in the story. And he talks about how he's going to fill up this fuel, and he has to use a syringe, and he takes a container out of the cabinet and rolls it over to him because it's like hundreds of pounds of astrophage inside this sealed container. And so of course he has to roll it over to him. 1, it's hundreds of pounds. 2, they're at 1.5 G's. So he's got to roll it over to him, and he's got to use a syringe, and he has to use the syringe something like 200 times to fill up 1 beetle. He's already done 2. He's got 1 more and maybe another one. And he calls this thing what does he call it? A bocoa? Yeah, bocoa, or it could be Boko. I'm sure you'll tell me. Thank you for watching. And it's essentially the big old astrophage container, or the big container of astrophage. Big old container of astrophage. As a southern person, big old container of astrophage. Love it. Hilarious. Ryland then opens the container as he's getting ready to do it, and he smells something pretty foul. And that means that the Taumoeba have escaped again. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Let's see the chapter, by the way. What does that mean? I thought he was going to make it home. This makes me second guess that. This is a pretty short chapter, by the way. I sped through this chapter. It was like bang, 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 bang. Okay, we're done. Pretty easy. But yeah, here's the thing. He completely annihilated all of the Taumoeba in the ship using plastic bags and all sorts of stuff to make sure that the containers that were supposed to have Taumoeba in them had Taumoeba in them. And anything else that didn't have anything to do with Taumoeba were completely separated and secluded. He used so much nitrogen. That means Rocky's got Taumoeba issues, because all of the containers that he was using are being used on the Blip A. So Rocky is super screwed. Not a scientist. Doesn't know how to deal with this thing. It's kind of like Ryland said, hey, we've already done all the science you need. Just get back home. Here's all the stuff. It's kind of like giving your kid, lunch money, putting him on the bus on the first day of school. It's like, you got it. Yeah, Rocky is like, if it escapes on Rocky's ship, like his entire people are screwed. So I'm thinking we're going to go hang out with Rocky some more. Which now begs the question, how much food do you have left? Like, oh, maybe he doesn't go home. Okay. We're going to have to read some more. Yeah, we're going to have to read some more. Look, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and share. Thank you for watching. Once again, if you want to support the channel, go and buy the book from Amazon in the description below. Also, if you just want to buy something else utilizing that link, I see a little kickback. It's awesome. Toilet paper, whatever. But I would appreciate it. Anyway, I think that's what I've got for you. I'm going to jump right into the next chapter. But that's all I've got. So, later, taters.